Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. This is December the 16th, 2019, City of Lamarque, Texas workshop, followed by the regular meeting, 6 p.m. Let the record reflect that all members of council are present, and I want to make special mention of Mama Casey, Councilwoman McAuliffe, who is the proud mom of a brand new baby girl. We congratulate her on that. And if you'll please stand for the invocation and pledge. Mayor Pro Tem.
Let's pray. God, we certainly come tonight thanking you for another day. Lord, we thank you for this city that we call home, for every appointed official that has been brought to bear to serve the city, for every elected official, Lord. We give thanks. We pray, Lord, that you would cause us, Lord, in your wisdom, to deliberate on those things that, Lord, pertain to your citizenry having a happy, a safe, and healthy life here in Lamarque. Guide us tonight and be with us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to move to item 4 of the workshop, which is citizens' participation, limited to 3 minutes per person. Comments from the public. At this time, any person with city-related business who has signed up may speak to council on a specific agenda item limited to 3 minutes. In compliance with the Texas Open Meeting Act, the city may not deliberate on comments. Personal attacks will not be allowed, and personnel matters should be addressed to the city manager during normal business hours. Excuse my redundancy, but I've said it many times before. If we sit here looking like a calf staring at a new gate, it's because we cannot respond. So we'll refer you simply to the city manager. Our first speaker is Mr. Alan Hamish. Hanish. Thank you, sir.
Happy holidays, city council members and Mr. Mayor and Tink. I'm here on behalf of 21 citizens that on Green Meadow Lane in Lamarque. There is a property R195817 that the owner of the property has been trying to build a parking lot and expand the business that he has over there without proper city permits. The reason we know this is because the compliance officer, Kathleen, went and shut the operation down. We're also having an issue with the drainage since he's done his work over there. The drainage used to go towards Gribbs Road. Now it's starting to back up towards our subdivision because his field that he put in there has covered part of that area. That was a temporary ditch, and we're not properly draining. If we have any type of storm that comes through there, it's going to cause a complete backup. What we're requesting the city council to consider is to pull the light commercial zoning that has been given to this individual and rezone it back to residential. I thank y'all for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker is Mr. Brad Stevenson.
Mayor, council, team members, everyone here. My name is Brad Stevenson. My wife and I, Karen, moved to Lamarque in 1987. We raised 2 daughters in the Lamarque School District. We've been there for 32 years. Unfortunately, my house is probably the lowest on the south side of the Meadow Lane subdivision, the one immediately north of this lot that's being developed. Being there 32 years, I know the drainage in the area. As y'all know, that we get, some floaters every now and then. Highland Hill, as it comes downhill, our city drainage gets most of it, but during periods of high rain, it starts traveling overland. When that happens, unfortunately, most of that water runs right through my yard, through this vacant lot that's on the south end of our subdivision, and into the bardage that's on Greb Road. That's what Alan was speaking about, that, you know, if any elevation changes are made in this vacant lot, then that is just going to increase the backup into our neighborhood. And I know after Harvey, I was this close to getting water in my house. So any elevation increase from that, I've got water in my house the next time. And then if it's me, then it's my neighbors, so on. Anyway, you know, I understand that this property owner wants to do something with his land, and I think that's fine. But I think that it should be done in a careful and considerate way where our peace of mind for drainage is not upset, but also, you know, that enough drainage is created to catch this runoff on these periods of excessive rain. And that's my proposal, is that we can go about this in a civil and business-like manner, but assure that my neighbors and myself that have lived and been paying taxes in that neighborhood since 1965 don't get flooded. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jackson, you have that?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you, sir. That concludes item 4. Going to item 5, the consent agenda, and our workshop will begin with Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, Council, item number 5A, discussion related to approving entering into a contract with the Galveston County Clerk and the Galveston County Election Officer for the general election to be held on May 2nd, 2020, and possible runoff election on June 13th, 2020. This is a standard election resolution we do every year to use their services for the election. Any questions or comments? Item 5B, discussion relating to adopting resolution number R 2019-0040, appointing an ADA coordinator and approving ADA grievance procedures in accordance with the Americans with Disabilities Act, Title II. It's the responsibility of the city to have this in place, especially if we're receiving federal grant funds, which we do. So this would establish the procedure for that. Any questions or comments on that one? Item 5C, discussion related to adopting resolution R 2019-0041, expressing intent to reimburse certain expenditures. C, D, and E are all related. So if you want to go back to each one of those, we can go back to each one of those after we get through those 3. Item D is discussion relating to terminating the current agreement with U.S. Capital as the city's financial advisor effective January 10th, 2020. Item E is discussion relating to approving an agreement with Stifel as city's financial advisor, assisting with debt and other financial advisory services. So I have the representatives from Stifel here tonight to give you guys they gave you a packet and they're going to talk to you real quick. These 3 items relate to the contract we made with the citizens in our budget process about beginning construction at the wastewater treatment plant, getting the design part of it done, getting our elevated storage tank taken care of, and some of the other items that we had. So this, I'm going to ask Brad Angst to come forward and tell you a little bit about their company and about what they can do for the city. Brad.
Excellent. Mayor, council members, and staff. Brad Angst with Stifel Nicholas. Pleased to be here. Been working with Susie in the finance department for about a month and a half now, looking at some different ideas and some plans to help accomplish your wastewater treatment plant, to meet some of the mandates that have come down from the TCEQ and some of the other improvements that need to be made, and looking at a full plan finance to accomplish some of those projects. We're seeing a lot of these type of wastewater treatment plant projects and other water projects come up around the state. When the monies first came around for these projects, there's a lot of federal money that was available from the Clean Water Act and some other items in the late 70s, early 80s, and the useful life of these projects are starting to break down. So we've been through a lot of these. We have some ideas for you, and I have a in-depth book about who we are, about some of your tax base and how you can accomplish these projects. through some financing options. So can take you through this in as much detail as you want. I don't want to put you to sleep too early here in the nightly meeting, but if you're ready to talk bond finance, I can take you through our presentation.
Quick is better.
Okay, we'll be quick. So we act as financial advisor, municipal advisor to a lot of different entities around the state. We work with the state of Texas, actually, and the comptroller's office is a client of ours. We work with a lot of smaller cities and counties and in between. We are a public finance oriented shop, meaning we work with cities, counties, school districts, and primarily on capital improvement projects with cities. So with me, I've got my team, David Webb here, based in the Houston area, Thierry Kamafi out of our Dallas office, and the three of us will be working closely as we proceed and put together the plan. So.
Welcome.
All right, flipping through behind tab 1 on the presentation, as I mentioned, Stifel is the name of the company. We're a full-service investment bank, meaning we not only provide advisory services, but we do have a broker-dealer shop and underwriting options as well. So we have a lot of market activity and participation so that we can bring you real-time interest rates and market movements that are going on. There's a bit of our corporate information there on slide 5. Slide 6, the next one shows our presence here in Texas. We have 4 different offices: Dallas, Austin, Houston, San Antonio, with quite a bit of presence in not just the public finance side, but the wealth management side. So there's a lot of different brokers within the communities as well providing that. Next slide, we show some of the different rankings. The 2, Stifel and George K. Bauman Company, which was a merger here recently. You can see that we number 1 in many of the categories, doing a lot of transactions every year. Well more than a couple hundred more than our nearest competition in that regard. Something in addition to our traditional bond finance and capital finance type projects, we also work with development districts and can help out reviewing any of those items or potential development type projects that come your way. Next slide shows a few of the employee numbers throughout the state, as well as some of the other cities that we've worked with: Edinburgh, El Paso, Greenville, Texas, Grand Prairie, Hutto, Lubbock. We do work all across the state and across the country as well. Now to the next tab, this is a little more information on you all and the city and how we go about developing a plan of finance, a plan on how to accomplish and get the funding you need for your projects. With any city, we first look to your tax base, your assessed valuation, which is a calculation of all the market value within the city limits and what can be applied to your tax rates. And so over the last 10 years, which is represented there in the top right-hand quadrant on page 10, you all have had good growth in your AV. We're seeing that across the area from Houston to Galveston, and on average, y'all have been about 6% growth here over the last 5-6 years. So good tax base, nearly $1 billion in value here as of the most recent calculations that were done this past summer. Let's see, page 11. We've got some of your peers here, the other cities and their tax rates. You all have a lower rate than most of your peers. Galena Park is up at $1.11. We see Deer Park about 72 cents. Your total tax rate at 55 cents is lower and more. It's lower than all but 3 of the entities on this page. So some room there to take on your projects, and we're well aware that you all made some changes this past year to start trying to accomplish those projects. So We've got a little review on slide 12 of the water system, historical revenues. We also have been looking to that revenue source as potential to pay for the wastewater treatment plant and some of the other projects, including lift station and others that are be outlined here in a moment. On to section 3. So after we've identified those revenue sources, we got to look at what is your current debt profile. Where do you have capacity to take on these new projects without making a big impact to your taxpayers, to your ratepayers, trying to structure this in a way that you get the projects done that have been mandated by the governmental agencies, but in a way that doesn't hit your taxpayers as hard as just doing it all at once. So looking on slide 14 and 15, this is just a recap of the bonds that you have outstanding to take on some of the more recent or some other projects. So this is showing from going back to 2014. And then on slide 16, it's just another look at the year-to-year annual debt service and what we use to determine where we can layer on these new projects and the financing pieces. So on to slide 17, the projects and the task orders that we've been working on with the finance department in order to try and accomplish in the top tier priorities. So the wastewater treatment plant headworks reconstruction, the wastewater treatment plant design and construction, the water tank and the approved lift station, and then also looking to some of the TXDOT projects that's going on at the interstate interchange and overpass. Together, all these projects, these immediate needs over the next couple of years are totaling approximately $23.8 million. These are the priorities that we've been tasked with finding a plan for. So on the next slide, that 23.8, we looked at that and looked at doing it all at once, and it was too much for you all to do all at once. And so we started looking at some plans on how can we split this up a bit. And so the wastewater treatment plant, your engineers provided a timeline and when the actual cost would flow in from some of those projects. And we were able to split that one in half. And we look at doing about half of it in the upcoming spring, and then 2 years down the road, once a substantial portion of it has been done, we do the remaining half of that, approximately 24 million. And what that does a couple things. It lowers your interest costs. You're not paying interest on bonds with the monies that you don't need just yet. But it also allows us to ramp up that debt service a little bit so that as you grow, as those tax base continues to grow at about that 5%, you can establish a tax rate that pays for your debt service and hopefully keep that tax rate the same as you grow that 5% or so a year. And as your water revenues and utilities increase, as you get more user accounts, as maintenance and rate increases maybe get put in place. So that's what we're looking at here. We're looking at a 2-year or a 2-phase financing in order to accomplish these projects. And that's shown on page 19. So the blue, dark blue denotes your current debt and the repayments on that. And then the orange and green on top that's layered on shows the 2 different bond issuances to take care of these projects that y'all are looking to go after. So in order to accomplish that, how are we going to pay for it? So looking at those water rate increases, this considers using $900,000 of your water revenues in order to repay these debts, and then it looks at using 6 cents of property tax. So those combined total enough to take on these projects. We know that's it's a lot, but that is what we've found the ideal blend of these. And so there's some types of bonds out there, combination tax and revenue, that you can use to pay for your water projects, your wastewater projects, where you can use those revenue sources from a particular enterprise system, and then also back it up and use some of the general property tax as well. So let me pause there.
Yeah, it's got a hole right there. So this was kind of strange because of the way we've structured the meetings now, where we have the workshop and then we have the meeting afterwards. Where do you fit in a presentation about a bond that we talked about in budget that we're gonna have to do that we're not talking about yet, but we gotta get a financial advisor hired before we can talk about the bond, and get the engineers working and do everything else. So I kind of just wanted Brad to show you that tonight, the whole purpose of this was to show, we're working on this, to show the citizens, we're working on this, we're gonna figure out a way to get this all done. And to make sure we get that wastewater treatment plant working, make sure TCEQ is not mad at us anymore, get all those things taken care of. All the numbers and stuff he's put in there, we'll have a whole workshop to talk about that stuff so you guys can vet through that and get through all that once we get to the point. But we got to get them hired, so we wanted to show you they knew what they were doing so we could get the letter done tonight. So it's kind of a overblown process to say these guys are pretty good. I think if you look back at, I don't remember what page it was, page 4 or 5, whatever. I mean, these guys are rated right there with Goldman Sachs and with Citi and with all the big companies. And so and when we compared them with what we had right now, they're a better rate than what we had right now. So that's why we wanted to get them in front of you to talk about that. So Brad, I appreciate you putting all that into it. And now you guys have got this to study so that when we do get to that workshop, trust me, these guys will be ready for you and they'll have a million questions.
Sure. I'm not sure that I have absorbed enough information tonight to even ask a question, much less understand the answer.
Sure.
So I agree with the workshop formula, and thank you guys for being here. We appreciate it very much, and it's good to put a face to a company, and I'm sure we all appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely. We got contact information there. Take it through Tink and Susie, and we're happy to answer any particular questions you may have.
I have some. Don't leave yet.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Angs, thank you again for your presentation. I hope y'all keep your rates low. Y'all are lower than our current one. Y'all seem to be very busy in the last 8 years buying up competition or adding things that complement your portfolio, which there's nothing wrong with that, made the mention about 6-cent tax. Is that the tax that we already?
That's what we did this year.
I think that's what we had discussed and planned on. So we got to do your level best to keep it within that. Or some of these people sitting right here, they won't just have our throats. They'll have theirs too. So, those were some things that we had planned on. So when we hear you mention that we're one of the lowest tax rates, that doesn't give us carte blanche to raise it to everybody else.
Certainly.
Okay, that's all I had to say.
Although we hadn't raised taxes in 14 years.
Sure.
So it was time.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I just want to say it's great to see real logistics based on the exact conversations we had in the budget meeting. So it's great. Thank you for that
And
work.
I assume, Brad, you guys will stick around till after the meeting, so if they have some more questions, they can talk to you after the meeting.
We can do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they'll be here afterwards if you guys have more questions. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you. Yep.
Thank you.
Item 5F, discussion relating to approving the observed city holidays for calendar year 2020. This is changing the holiday schedule, adding in Veterans Day, which is what we talked about at the last council meeting. Any questions or comments about that? G, discussion relating to approving allocations from the Youth Program Fund to various organizations who meet eligibility requirements as recommended by Councilmember Lane, Coordinator of Youth Projects. Will review some additional applications in executive session tonight. H, discussion relating to authorizing the annual purchase of surface water from Gulf Coast Water Authority in the amount of $1,523,799.89, which includes Bond A, $8,546, Bond B, $36,542, Bond D, $245,520, and surface water, $1,233,191.89. That's our annual contract with them. Item I, discussion relating to ratifying city manager's approval of LMV Incorporated task order number 1 to survey the city of Lamarck Cemetery located at 1709 South Oak Street. We can talk a little bit more about that if you guys have questions, but I think everybody knows what happened there.
Yeah, I've got a question. Robert here?
Yeah, he's right there.
I know there's no amount on there. It's got to be an hourly rate. How many people do you think it's going to take and how long? Have you even looked at that thing?
Mayor, Council, good evening. Robert Vieira with LNV. What I'm anticipating right now is on the newer portion, maybe 2 or 3 days worth of time with just 2 surveyors. We've already located all of the boundary and overlaid the maps on top of that boundary. We can work out the newer portion pretty easy, 2 or 3 days. We already see some discrepancies in the older portion, so I'm thinking maybe about a week's time.
Okay.
I'm anticipating somewhere in the $20,000 to $25,000 neighborhood.
Yeah.
If that answers your question.
Yes, sir. Does it mention something about a sounding rod? What are you talking about there?
I think that's something on the city side.
Yes, sir. It's basically a probing rod to go down to touch to see if you can hit concrete.
That's if they even have a liner.
Yes, sir.
Well,
If
that's
it's
true.
the old,
To verify.
So there's gonna have to be some type of process on the older portion of the cemetery. We're gonna have to determine where there are existing sites and then identify it and mark the boundary. There's probably gonna be different methods that we're gonna have to use in order to do that. So that's why I'm anticipating it's gonna take a little bit longer.
y'all gonna work just during the day or after dark?
I don't know. I don't know if I can force them to go out there after dark.
Okay, thank you. That helps.
Sure.
So, and of course, just a little overview real quick. Since we've talked about it quite a bit. That cemetery is over 100 years old. It was run by the church, and then it was, there was a group that ran it, and the maps are, Robin and Karen did the best they can with those maps. Maps are falling apart. There's stuff marked on there that was bought 40 years ago that we don't know if anybody if that plot was ever used on it. It's a nightmare. Trying to figure that thing out, and we had an issue at a funeral it's never going to happen again. We're going to make sure it doesn't.
I was wondering if y'all have access to any kind of X-ray equipment or sounding,
We can
it's
rent
an
some. It's just that they
ultrasound.
make the X-ray equipment,
Yeah.
but it only goes so far down. I'd have to
Yeah.
look into that, see if that's gonna be feasible, so.
Yeah, the ultrasound might get
And
down.
depending on the type of
feet.
soil and things like that, but there should be different systems where you can just pull it across the ground and you see that little fluctuation in the.
Okay.
One other thing I just want to mention is also gonna be on GPS, so if you lose a map or anything else, you can just always go back and recreate that point fairly easily, so.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Any other questions on item I? And obviously, just point out also, that's ratifying my approval of that task order. I went ahead and approved that task order after the issue we had because we had to get started. Item J, discussion relating to approving LMV Incorporated Task Order Number 2 for engineering services to rehabilitate the headworks and lift station pump improvements at the wastewater treatment plant as part of the wastewater treatment plant expansion project. Behind your packets, I'm sure you saw the documentation on that. We're about 20% capacity of that facility right now, and that's a choke point for the entire wastewater treatment project. So we're going to get that part done while the design is being done on the rest of it, because it would have to be done first anyway. And then item K, discussion relating to approving LMV Incorporated Task Order Number 3, which is the design phase of the 2.25 million gallon per day wastewater treatment plant expansion and existing facility upgrades, which is what we started talking about in the budget this year. Questions on that one? And then item 6 will come up. You guys can do it now. You can do it in executive session. That's discussion of possible action regarding, or in the regular meeting, regarding requisites for a vacant city attorney position. That's the one that we've had some council members ask about, having a discussion about that to determine how we want to try to move forward with that. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. So we'll adjourn the workshop and go into the special city council agenda meeting. The time is approximately 6:29, and we're all obviously still here. We haven't left. Item 3, we're honored to have some presentations, proclamations, and introductions this evening. So if you'll allow me, I'll come down front. I'm going to go ahead and move item E, presentation of a plaque to our former wonderful city attorney. So Ellis, if you want to come up and bring your family with you if you'd like to. This is Ellis Ortigo, illustrious attorney, Marque for many years, and I'd like to introduce your family. How are wife Anna, my daughter Andrea. And I understand they actually did all the work for all of you. This plaque reads, thank you for your many years of dedicated service to the city of Lamar. Your great work is appreciated and will never be forgotten. Presented in 2019. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Wait.
Sorry, Ricky moved. Here we go. Got the back. Do you mind? I'm so sorry.
Some things never change.
I'm so sorry. Okay, there we go. Thank you. All right. Uh-oh. That should be great. Thanks.
Thank you, Ellis.
Next presentation is for Officer Troy Anders. Could you please come forward? As you know, the City of Lamar customer service policy requires excellence in customer service and places the burden of providing a positive interaction with citizens on our employees. We have an employee with us tonight that has been recognized by a citizen for providing excellent customer service, and this is a portion of the memo from the chief of police. This afternoon, I had a phone conversation with a citizen who told me that she was calling to compliment Officer Anders on his professionalism during a traffic stop. And you guys are going to love this. She stated the officer was so nice that she just couldn't say enough about how pleasant he was. She added that he was fast, efficient, and so nice. She further stated that she was in the area on vacation from Florida, and that even though the citation was issued, she was not used to being treated so nicely by officers where she lived. She ended by stating that the interaction with Officer Anders has made a very positive impact on her and her husband. Officer Anders' hard work, positive attitude, and dedication to the city of Lamar makes him an invaluable member of our city team. Awesome. With great pleasure that I present this customer service excellence award to Officer Troy Anders. I hope you're nice to me too, but I can go without the tickets.
That is something.
This comes under the same heading. I'll read a portion of an email from the citizens about these two employees. And if you'll come forward, this is Dewana Pleasant and Joe Moe. Go ahead and applaud as they come.
Yay.
The citizen says, Mr. Joe Mose came by not long after he spoke to us and cleaned our ditch. This is service I certainly did not expect. I just want to make sure that his efforts are recognized along with Dewana Pleasant in getting this done so quickly. I'm just so grateful for the speed with which this was done, as we had agreed on a 2-week time frame to completion. Yet this was completed the next day. This was very important to us because it was raining while they did this. Joe Mose and Dewana's pleasant hard work, positive attitude, and dedication to the city of Lamar makes them an invaluable member of our city team. So it's once again with great pleasure that I present these Customer Service Excellence Awards to Joe Mose and Dewana Pleasant. You guys, appreciate that so much.
Yay.
Once again, under the same heading, Customers Excellence, Customer Service Excellence Award, I'll read you the social media post received about this recipient, who is Chief Todd Wyman. If you come forward, please. So this is a social media post. Solid shout out to Chief Todd Wyman for stopping to help me change my tire. Thank you, Marque Fire Department, for employing a fire chief like him. Although my dad told me how to change a tire, it was really nice of him to take time out of his morning to stop and do it for me. Chief Wyman's hard work, positive attitude, and dedication to the city of Lamarck makes him an invaluable member of our city team. And once again, with great pleasure, I present this Customer Service Excellence Award to Chief Todd Wyman. So if I have a flat, can I call you?
Yes, sir.
And then we got 4 of those after you read that.
We have 4 recipients that were chosen by, not myself, but a couple of council members and others for a program. This is the CPM program. It's a nationally accredited comprehensive statewide management development program specifically for managers in state and local government. The program's primary goal is to improve the performance of public managers and the organizational performance of state and local government. It is a comprehensive course of study by which public managers can acquire and apply the best practices and theory to their management behaviors and strategies using prescribed sets of professional standards. The curriculum uses theory as the foundation and applies it to practical problems facing the participant, their cities, and the citizens. Those who complete the program earn a national trademark designation of CPM, Certified Public Manager. The Texas CPM program is a 7-course sequence which leads to a nationally accredited public manager certification. The CPM program is offered by the University of Houston Hobby School of Public Affairs. We have a bold plan to have all of our department leadership through this program within 5 years. No other city in Texas can boast having a full slate of certified public managers run their departments. We fully expect to be the first city in Texas to accomplish this feat. Our first recipient, City of Lamarck Scholarship to attend the University of Houston CPM program, is presented to Chase Carey.
Please.
Next recipient, CPM, is Chief Kirk Jackson.
Freeze. Don't tell anybody, tell them freeze.
Thank you.
Next, to attend this program is presented to Charlene Warren.
That's the last one. Yeah. On that, you got more.
And last but certainly not least, the CPM program presented to Sloan Twitter. You get it, David? I got it. Also like to say that Chief Todd Whiteman, I believe it was last week, just graduated from this program. So we're well on our way to
Next year, I'm gonna do Do that one next to the employee awards after that.
I'll do this last.
So these were employees that weren't at the banquet.
We have the 2019 City of Marque presented to distinguished employee to Calvin Hart for exemplary performance of job duties. These were folks, we did this at the Christmas party, but these were folks that were out of town or working. Amanda Hobby was watching her son graduate from Marine boot camp, which I'm sure was an emotional time, so please come forward. Amanda Hobby. Congratulations.
25 years.
And this award here is a service award presented on December 6, 2019, which is the night of the party, to Tyrone Griffin for 25 years of service to our city.
So proud of you.
Woohoo!
25.
Another 25-year award. I believe Chief had flu that night. Sorry about that. Go ahead and do better. Come forward. Presented December 6, 2019 to Kirk Jackson for 25 years. One that's last but not least, you know, a while back I was totally taken aback and quite surprised that I received an award for being the longest serving mayor in the history of Marque, which happens to be my hometown. And just a couple of weeks ago, I was thinking to myself, you know, if I'm the longest serving mayor in the history of Marque, then the man who has been elected by council to sit by my side, Mayor Pro Tem Keith Bell, is also the longest serving Mayor Pro Tem in the history. So this is, I know you don't like to get up and come up here, you're welcome to. Every mayor wish he had a blocking fullback like this man. It is with great appreciation that the mayor and city council congratulate Keith Bell on being the longest serving mayor pro tem in the history of our city. We sincerely appreciate your dedication to the citizens of Marque. Presented this 16th day of December 2019, Bobby Hockey Mayor. Thank you.
How many years?
Well, it's been 9 with me, but he was mayor pro tem before that. And that concludes it. Let's give everybody another.
No, they don't tell you. One other announcement, one other announcement as part of that.
Go ahead.
A couple of things. One for council's benefit, because I don't know if CPM scholarships is part of the budget, and we gave 4 out tonight. So I want to thank Chief Weidman, who was in the program at the time that we started working on it. He went and talked to the University of Houston and got them to give us two free passes for the 2 that we purchased. So that's why we're sending 4 instead of 2.
That's awesome.
So he actually he used the budgeting skills he learned in the CPM program to extend the budget.
Thank you, that's great.
That's fantastic,
awesome.
thank you.
And the second thing is we have a program that's facilitated through the Texas City Lamarck Chamber of Commerce called Leadership Mainland, which is an opportunity for attendees to experience leadership development, community awareness, and personal growth. Throughout that program, attendees learn more about the challenges facing their community while motivating them to future leadership roles within their organizations. Each year, alumni is nominated to lead the next year's program. So you have a group that goes through, they spend a year together, and at the end of it, that group gets together. The leaders from that group get together, and they pick the leader for the next year. We send 2 every year, and we have one of our employees who went this last year who was selected to be the leader for next year, and that's Sloan.
Wow, that sounds great. Congratulations. They picked well. Item 5 is consent agenda. Anyone wishing to pull anything from the...
Minutes, Mayor.
Sorry. We'll take the minutes, regular city council minutes of November, there's not even a football game on it, or is there? Yeah, I think there is one. November 11th, 2019, workshop city council minutes of November 11th, 2019, budget workshop minutes of July 22nd, 23rd, and 25th, 2019. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
I second.
Motion second, no discussion on minutes. Any additions or corrections? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Now, item 5, the consent agendas. Anyone wishing to pull anything from the consent agenda? I will pull item G, which we will discuss in executive session. Hearing, seeing none, I'll entertain motion for the consent agenda.
So moved.
I second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Item 6A, discussion, possible action regarding requisites for a vacant city attorney position. Are we going to do that in executive session as well?
It's up to you. You don't need to, you can do it out here. There's been some conversation from individual council members about how do we move forward? What do we want to try to do as we move forward? So we need some direction as to what you guys want to do before we can actually try to move forward. If you're ready to move forward, you don't have to be ready now either. We've got to fill in, and it's up to you guys.
Would one of the options be putting out a request and getting resumes in?
Sure. Are you putting out a request for a firm to do everything? Are you putting out a request for an in-house? Are you putting out a request for that? I mean, I think that's what we need to, what you guys need to decide.
I personally feel like we need an in-house attorney. It's my understanding that we spend about $300,000 a year on attorneys.
We spend a lot.
And I think I don't know what attorneys make, but I'm assuming for about half that you could have an in-house attorney.
I guess I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, Casey, that I agree, but also I think that we need to add the prosecutorial piece as well. And just so we're clear, we're adding every duty that an attorney would do to this in-house attorney. Is that what you're saying also, Mayor?
I'm not sure I am, but I'm not opposed to what you're saying.
We have multiple functions that we use, and we normally use different firms to do those different multiple functions. We also have land use. We also have HR. I mean, there's a lot of different things. There is a possibility that if we went out for an in-house to do it all, that we might get somebody who is actually capable of doing it all that would respond to the RFQ. There's only one way to find out. I mean, you guys can start with that and say, let's put out an RFQ for everything, and let's see who responds. And then if we don't get a good response, then we go from there. If that's what you want to do.
That sounds good to me. I think my biggest question, it's not even a concern, it's mainly because this is uncharted waters for me, definitely, is how realistic is it that a city of our size is able to solicit and maintain an attorney that can do all of those things and will be hours only and not, I have no feel for if that is a realistic goal for us to have or a pie in the sky goal for us to have.
I'm going to say it's probably a little pie in the sky, but there's only one way you find out.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not an attorney, but they have different specializations, right? I mean, some of them have corporate specialization, some have criminal. So I don't think that is that big of a stretch. for us to be able to find someone.
Well, and what can happen is you find somebody that's been doing the rat race as an attorney for, 10 or 15 years and they're tired of it. And they want just someplace they can go sit in an office and do their job. And, that we see that, you see that happen.
Right.
We see that happen. Now, a lot of times what those people will try to do, and of course this will come out in the RFQ process so we can find out. I've seen it before where they want to do that, but they want to do it for 2 cities. So I'll come do it for you for 3 days a week or 2 days a week or something. And so, but there's only one way to find out. Let's put it out there.
I'm in favor of that, of an RFQ process.
I think that's the best way to do it. There's already been one recommendation from, I think you had one for a young man from Texas City.
We had one person recommend somebody to.
And then there's a young
they
man
respond.
that's actually from Lamarque who is a young attorney. He's an assistant in a close by city that could possibly also be interested in having the lead job since he's been an assistant at a larger city.
I think
There's a lot of play.
I think we need for our identity moving forward, we need faces that this city can identify with moving forward, so that we can move into areas of growth that we probably hadn't realized as of yet. But also, again, hammering down on this pie in the sky thing. I think that if I was an attorney and I work primarily in municipal government, for like Ellis, he's no longer here, but Ellis, as an example, I'm sure that he has been the prosecutor for some cities. He's been the city attorney for other cities. He's been the municipal court judge for other cities. And so there are folks out there, while they may not have in one city been able to perform all of those different tasks, I'm sure that if you were to look at their experience over several cities, we'd find that they have everything we need.
Always that possibility, and it's getting that person that says, I want to be in Lamarque 40 hours a week and I'm going to do it all, and we'll see.
That's ideal, just us. So do you want to have an action item on putting out this deal, or is that something you can do administratively?
We can do it administratively now that we know what you guys want, or you guys could just do a motion real quick to direct staff to put out an RFQ for an in-house attorney.
I'll take that motion and someone can make it.
Second.
I would like
Make it. There's been a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Next, we're going to go into executive session, but before we do, I don't want our 3 FBI agents, which is what I told this guy they were when they walked in. It didn't bother him. He said he had no.
Announcements.
Excuse me.
We're gonna do announcements.
We can do announcements, but I want to give council, I don't want these guys to have to sit through executive session. So is there any further questions for the bond people?
Not at this time. I'd prefer to wait during workshop.
Thank you,
We
guys.
have your bond counsel here as well. I failed to introduce him earlier.
Okay.
You'll probably
Yeah,
recognize.
we do recognize him. He came up and spoke as well. So you 4 guys don't have to sit through. You can head down 45, and we appreciate you being here so much.
Good luck with that trip.
Thank you.
And so we'll go ahead and have announcements as well, and ladies first.
Well, I actually hadn't thought to do this, but I was looking at our calendar of reappointing board and commission members, and I see Ms. Petty is here, and we haven't talked about it, but in the past we had discussed reinstating you for the Board of Adjustments, and
We've talked about that.
and now I'm regretting going forward with it. So we can talk about it later. I'm sorry. I thought.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Because there's several people on that Board of Adjustments that need to be appointed, not just myself.
Right, but they're on a calendar, and you're on my. It's time.
Each council person.
It doesn't bump anybody else. It's just my time to reinstate the person I had. It's time for me to appoint somebody. Oh boy, goodness gracious! Sorry.
She wants
Can I
to
blame
know
this on
if
the
you want
fact
to do
that
it
I
again.
missed
She
last
just
time?
wants to know if you want to do it again. It's not on our agenda. We can't do it tonight anyway.
Okay.
She's
Is
just
there any
asking you.
discuss it?
Yeah, we'll discuss it later. Sorry. Welcome back, Casey. Welcome back.
Casey, I just showed up to make sure I make the end of the year meeting.
I know. I apologize for putting you on the spot. Well, that aside, I'm happy to be back after missing 1 month. And yay! Happy holidays to everybody. And I also would just like to say, it's been a few months now it's been several months since we've had our new city manager, and I think I speak on behalf of a lot of people that say Tink has instituted a lot of new procedures and processes for our city that I think have just been such a boon for us. I notice a huge change in morale and in just the environment, and it affects me and the work I do as a city council member, and I just so greatly appreciate it. And it's such a delight to have time to recognize employees who do great work and all of these things that have completely come about because of our change of leadership. And I'm really grateful to you.
I am too. I concur.
Yeah. Okay. Happy New Year.
Robert?
Yes, two is what I have. The first one is a thank you. And if any of y'all have noticed the traffic on I-45 in the evenings through Lamar, it has gotten horrendous. There's a good reason for that. And when the thank you goes out to our mayor, it goes out to our EDC chair, Mr. Crowder. It goes out to Mr. Alex Getty and everyone else on that board of that EDC. There's a lot of things that go on with our Economic Development Corporation that people don't see. But the Magical Winter Lights just won that national competition, in the country as the best. Now that would have never happened without the help and the input of our mayor and our EDC leading that effort. Yeah, we gave some money to it to get it off the ground. I remember Mayor and I, we visited with the consulate from China that first year. I mean, it went well. And now look at the success. Well, right now, all we see is the success, but it's the people behind the scenes that made it happen. And I just want to say a thank you for all those folks involved. There is a lot that happens with them. And the last and not least is Merry Christmas to everybody and a Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Councilman Lane. All right, Mayor Pro Tem.
The other day, I had the opportunity to tour the police station. And I really need to tell us as a city that we really have to do better. The police station is virtually in disrepair. I won't go into the specifics because we still have to keep criminals or suspected criminals in those facilities. And so we don't want anybody to know what we're dealing with. But I will say this, for whatever time I have left on this council, whether it be 2 minutes or 20 years, I'm pledging to fight for us to have a new police department, but not only that, a new police department, a new city hall, and a new municipal court. I'm going to be the #1 advocate for that moving forward. And so, having said that, I think I would like to place that on the agenda for next month's meeting, that we would have a discussion on how we could possibly move forward in whatever fashion that may be, in rallying support for designing, selecting, and then building a new complex for this city. Our city, this year alone, will spend tens of thousands of dollars, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, in trying to repair or remodel spaces to house our staff. 3 of our facilities, the Economic Development Corporation, the Police Department, and City Hall, are all housed in former banks. In our history in this city, we've only built 1 building. We can do better. There are cities around us with all sorts of municipal complexes that put our city to shame. And there's no reason for us to not have a complex of our own. And so I'd like to have at least 1 council member with me, according to our new ordinance, that would agree with me to place this on the agenda so we can move forward and build facilities that our citizens and our staff deserve.
I support that.
There we go. We got two.
You got three, consider it done.
So think next meeting, if we can start that discussion, bring in the finance folks, and whoever we need to bring in, so that we can set this city on a course to get these buildings built. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Of course, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I'm happy to report that Mac McGaffey and his wife, those of you who didn't know, they were ill. Mac was extremely ill to the point of, and I don't think he'd mind me saying this because we talked here recently, being on life support for a couple of days. And so I'm happy to report they're back home and they're doing well. And we want to continue to lift them up in our thoughts and prayers. And I want to say, I've already done this once, but how much we appreciate all of our employees, all of our award winners this evening. You guys are just the absolute best, and don't ever think that each member of this council and myself do not recognize what you do on a daily basis, because we do. We talk about it in our retreats. We know who you are and what you do, and you guys are awesome, so thank you.
That where you live.
So coming to the next item, executive session, under A, section 551.071, consultation with attorneys, youth program fund, and B, section 551.074, personnel matters, city managers' roles and responsibilities. Madam Clerk, if you'll call the time.
7:01.
7:01, we'll go into executive session. We'll adjourn the regular and go into executive. Thank you. Okay. You ready? Ladies and gentlemen, we adjourn the executive session at 7:54. It's now 7:56. We will reopen the regular meeting, take action under item 8A, discussion possible action regarding the youth program fund. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I'll entertain a motion in wording.
I move to approve $11,000 for approved youth programs.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Any opposed? No action needed on item B. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
A second.
All in favor? Thank you.
Aye.
Merry Christmas, everybody.